This is one of our favorite pictures of Sage. This is actually towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
This is after his final procedure that he would have, which was to put in this shunt here. But he had this period of time a few weeks before he died where he was just extraordinarily animated, and we like to say that he was like seeing angels. Or he just had there was this magical quality that really took over.
I don't know, there's something victorious about this photograph.
If sharing anything about ourselves and about our children can have any kind of impact on somebody who is in the position that we were in previously, then that is exactly what we need to do.
Yeah. I'm Hannah Skirmahorn, Sage's mom. Sage was and is the most important person and force in our life. He's changed everything for us. When Sage was born, we noticed that his head was a little bit larger. He was a little dusky. He was like a little purplish in his hue. There were some breathing issues, but nobody seemed concerned. We were about to be discharged, and he had a full-blown seizure, and he coded. So I remember they like pushed me into a rocking chair, and I just sat, and she called, for doctors. The alarm sounded, and within a few minutes, there were about 9-10 people just kind of going crazy. And Susan, that was the name of this nurse, completely saved his life. And she came and she said, Hannah, it's really serious. That evening, we sat down with the head of the NICU department, and they told us that Sage was born with a massive arteriovenous malformation, which had completely consumed the left hemisphere of his brain. So all the tissue was destroyed, and hundreds and hundreds, if not potentially thousands of arteries had grown and just kind of taken over the tissue. There were no capillaries. So all of the blood that was going into this lesion was just wasted.
We had a very honest and difficult conversation with the head of cardiology and the neonatologist, and they basically said, we can manage his symptoms. We don't know for how long. I think they gave a figure of about 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. At Children's, he had an 8-hour brain embolization.
Right.
The diagnosis, nobody knew what was going to happen and how it was going to unfold. I think what I struggled with was not that I was trying so hard, but that Sage was losing so much and that he was suffering so much. He lost movement, he began to lose sight, he began to lose hearing, he lost the ability to swallow, and it wasn't necessarily about the amount of effort we were exerting. It was just about how much he as an infant, as our baby, had to lose. I think that's what I struggled with a lot. I thought there was kind of an edge to suffering. It wasn't the body that I gave birth to. It had changed dramatically. And that was hard, beyond hard, to deal with. But it didn't go on for very long. It wasn't a matter of saving him any longer. So when we had that definitively, we knew we had done everything for him. His body was being pushed far past it should have for an infant, because that's what he was. He was still a newborn. So we played music.
Yeah, we removed all of his equipment.
We held him and we just let him go. We told him it was okay, and we loved him, and
yeah, we held him all day.
Yeah.
And I played a song for him. Aside from the day he was born, that was really the first time that we had been able to hold him without, being worried that we were going to pull out an IV or having all these wires or needing multiple people to kind of help him be in our arms. And we sat together in a chair,
Yeah, we
probably
squeezed
like
into
this,
an
and
armchair.
he was there with us, and we passed him back and forth, and it took hours.
Yeah.
It took hours, and I remember whispering to him that it was okay for him to go, that we loved him. And we surrounded him in as much love as we could possibly muster.
Yeah. was just by far the most loving thing that I think Eric and I could have done, was to understand in that moment. Nobody told us. It wasn't during a surgery. It wasn't apart from us. It was by our own understanding and intuition, and it was right. And it's a gift that Eric and I know we gave him, and we carry that with us, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I think it contributed to our healing immensely. You know what I mean? Is we knew, and we carry that. We know that it was right, despite how wrong it was. I mean, I do very much think of it as a loss, because there was something that intrinsically broke inside of me when he died. And even though his spirit, Eric and I we can find it, we can perceive it, we're still alive, and at times very much so feel lost. And you have to be present in the room and experience your child actually dying to understand that feeling, but you do lose a very large part of your sense of self and safety and understanding of just who you are in the world. And I think even lost in the sense of understanding what the world is, because a lot of that has been thrown into question for us. I mean, I had given birth, like I needed him. I needed my child in a way that's hard to speak about, but I don't have him, and I'll never have him. And that is something that Eric and I can't sit still with. We couldn't just sit still in the hospital. We were active. We did everything we could. And what we found is that after your child dies, that continues. It's even harder to stay still. I can't say that we've landed on a shore by any means. We're still, we're out there. But again, it comes back to that question of what do you do? I think that Eric and I, we want to do things. And we are aware of the fact that every human being should be concerned with the suffering of others and should be grateful for what we are given, because life is precious and beautiful. And that's, I think, the startling thing, is I thought that at first that I would come away with this and just see only ugly things. And it's really the opposite. I mean, Sage is beauty, and his life has taught us beauty, and that's what makes it so hard. I'm not the person that I was before Sage. Sage's death, in some ways, I think it's freed both of us quite a bit, but it's also damaged us quite a bit, because how could it not? You still have to live. I mean, that's really the truth, right? All of us parents, we still have to live. We still have a responsibility, and if you hold life sacred, you want to do it well. And death teaches you that life is sacred, so therefore you must do it well.
Right.
And I think that's the legacy that Sage left us, and we hope that we're living it